The traditional Western view of beauty is echoed, I think, most beautifully by the 20th century German philosopher Joseph Pieper, who refers to beauty as the glow of the true and the good radiating from every ordered state of being. The idea that the formal purpose of man's art is the production of beautiful objects has to a large extent dominated the understanding and teaching of art history from classical times up to the beginnings of the 20th century. That beauty is to be found objectively existing in the natural order has until recently also been generally taken for granted. Perhaps the most eloquent statement of Western artistic tradition is that of John Ruskin, made in the middle of the last century in his seminal essay, All Great Art is Praise. The art of man is the expression of his rational and disciplined delight in the forms and laws of creation of which he forms a part. At the time that Ruskin wrote these words, however, the seeds of doubt regarding man's ability to know the true and the good had begun to undermine the traditional link between beauty and order. Art and nature, beauty divorced from the good and true, brought about a new field of study called aesthetics, or the study of perception per se. In the words of Walter Pater, a founding father of aestheticism, modern thought is distinguished from ancient by its cultivation of the relative spirit in place of the absolute. To the modern spirit, nothing is or can be rightly known except relatively and under condition. All arts must tend toward the nature of music, said Pater, that is, significant beauty without any articulate meaning. Most people who have been subjected to a college-level course in art history or aesthetics from the 1940s through the 1980s will have been taught this formalistic approach that beauty can and in fact must be abstracted from the sensible reality to produce great art. While the debate begun in the last century continues as to whether beauty exists as intrinsic to nature, as espoused by the realists, or whether beauty can be distilled and judged on its own terms, the abstractionists, a whole other aspect of art, pictorial art anyway, has been largely ignored. Whereas it's undoubtedly true that philosophically speaking the end of art is beauty, either abstract or real, according to one's metaphysics, psychologically speaking, the visual arts are and must be studied as a powerful means of communication. It has been more and more clear since modern discoveries regarding the unconscious that the visual images convey some of man's most profound feelings, fears, desires, aspirations, and inspirations. While the aspect of this visual arts was grasped immediately by the advertising industry to maximize profits, little interest was shown in established academic circles. Some of this century's leading art historians have, however, alluded to this most fascinating and as yet little understood aspect of art. I'd like to quote here from some of three whose credentials are above reproach. Historian and renowned iconographer Erwin Panofsky, French author and critic René Huguet, and the late curator of Oriental Art at the Boston Museum of Fine Arts, Ananda Kumaraswamy. Panofsky, in his introduction to the studies of iconology, describes three levels of understanding undergone while viewing a picture. One is the primary or natural subject matter. This involves identifying pure forms as certain configurations of line and color, or certain peculiarly shaped lumps of bronze or stone as representatives of natural objects such as a human being, an animal, plants, rocks, etc. By identifying their natural relations as events. Number two is secondary or conventional subject matter. Under this heading comes iconographical motifs by which the viewer may identify characters and events such as a group of figures seated around a table as representing, for example, the Last Supper. However, number three brings us closer to the true message of a painting or sculpture. It's what Panofsky calls intrinsic meaning, or content, which he goes on to state is apprehended by ascertaining those underlying principles which reveal the basic attitude of a nation, a period, a class, a religious or philosophical persuasion, unconsciously qualified by one personality and condensed into one work. If these terms seem somewhat mysterious, those of René Huguet delve even deeper. Art, he wrote, is the story of human societies, what the dreams of an individual are for the psychiatrist. Many think of art as a mere diversion, a thing that is purely marginal, so that the real business of life. They do not see that it looks into life's very heart and lays bare the unconscious secrets, that it contains the most honest confessions, confessions that have within them the least element of calculation and must therefore be accounted as exceptionally sincere. The soul of an age is here revealed. It no longer wears a mask. It seeks and discloses itself with prophetic knowledge that is to be found both in the highly sensitive or the possessed. Finally, in the words of Ananda Kumar Swami, the public wants to know what a work of art is about. Let us tell them what these works of art are about, and not merely about these works of art. Let us tell them the painful truth, that most of these works of art are about God, whom we never mention in polite society. Now, with the above in mind, that is to say, that while pictures, sculptures, and architecture may be studied from a formalistic point of view regarding their intrinsic beauty, the purpose of this series of lectures, where we're going to have some slides coming after this, is to broaden our vision of just how well the visual arts reflect the religious aspirations of different groups or peoples at different times in history, as seen through the inspired individuals we call the geniuses or great artists of any period. The visual arts, I believe, if properly understood, can indeed give great insights into the fears, hopes, aspirations, as well as the supernatural faith of both individuals and societies. And these visual arts are the true mirror of man's soul. We're going to have a presentation coming up now with slides dedicated to classical Greece, which is the first time in human history where philosophy was wedded with mythopoetic imagination to produce a vision called by the Greeks cosmos, the bringing together of order, or the insight into the fact that there was order in the world and how this affected their arts. We shall move on from this program to move to Christian arts, East and West, and on through the history of art up through the Baroque period in 8 consecutive lectures.